Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Giant Conversation in This Topic Talks. I'm your host, Aaron Klingsmith, and today we've got a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about a man who got fired for attending his son's birth. We're also going to talk about a note that Obama left to America before he left the White House. We're going to jump over to Mark's Multiverse, where we've got the Atlas V rocket. We're going to talk about freeze-dried food, and we're going to talk about Star Wars, the new Star Wars coming out. BayWatch is back. That's big news. And we're gonna talk about the whole thing going on with A Dog's Purpose right here on Topic Talks. Welcome to Topic Talks, where we talk about the topics you care about and leave out the ones you don't.
We talk about what most news sources don't: media, movies, and the multiverse.
We even invite guests to come talk topics with us.
Come join in on the fun.
Let's get started. And welcome again, everyone, to Topic Talks. It's the Giant Conversation. And today I have Mark with me again. Hey, Mark, how you doing?
Hey, everybody. How's it going?
So we've got a lot to talk about. First, I want to talk about this story. I read it, and I about went crazy. So there was this guy, okay? His name's Lamar.
Was his name Lamar?
His name was Lamar. His wife is named Lindsay. It's Lamar and Lindsay Austin. Obviously she was pregnant, and when it was time, it was time.
Yeah.
And it was actually on New Year's. Their son was the first one born in that hospital in 2017. So that's kind of cool.
That's almost like how I was. I was one of the first 100 babies of 1993.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So, I was not. I was in November, so I was kind of near the end, but not.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so, obviously when it was time, it was time. Well, Lamar, I guess, was supposed to work. So he sent his boss a text explaining, what was going on. And this is what's mind-blowing. The response he got back is just mind-blowing. And his boss said back to him, "You're forcing my hand. If you aren't at work by 8 tomorrow, we're going to terminate you."
That is some of the biggest BS ever,
And it wasn't even like they didn't even try to beat around the bush. Like, it was straightforward. Like, you were going to be fired if you don't show up for work tomorrow. And I read that and I just stopped. I'm like, what what company is this?
I honestly, if it were me, I probably would have been calling up my boss the moment I got that text to give him a piece of my mind.
I feel like that's against the law somehow. I feel like it has to be.
Yeah, for real. Better call Gold Star for that one.
Anyway, so then to make things worse, after, because obviously he didn't go. So after his son was born, New Year's Day, he received another text message saying that he was terminated. So now this does have an upside, but I can't get over the fact that this boss is like, "Okay, listen, you're forcing my hand." How is he forcing your hand? He's having a child. That is obviously this is the owner is someone who has never had a child before.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
I mean, I haven't had a child, and I know how important that moment is.
My sister, Bethany, it was different circumstances, and it was more justified for her being fired in this instance than, taking work off for your kid. But
right.
she was fired from a job at one point, and it was I don't know, it was, I guess, semi-reasonable, but still kind of BS.
Right.
And, she took it in, she went against them, and first of all, they had to hire her back.
Really?
Yeah, because, it was, on grounds for, unjust termination, or something like that. Not only did that happen, did she get her job back, but for the time lost from her working between the termination and then when she got hired back, for the time lost...
She had to get paid?
Yes.
Oh.
Not only did she get the money back for the time she was terminated, but the boss who fired her had to pay her out of her paycheck.
Nice.
So the lady who fired my sister had to pay her back for the time she lost.
Nice.
Which this was multiple thousands of dollars.
Okay.
So
now this doesn't
sweet.
have that kind of happy ending. It still does have a happy ending.
Right.
So this story got published in a town paper and just blew up. Okay. and it caught the attention of a former town board member. Okay, her name's Sarah Pashiro, and so what she did is she decided to take some action. She started a GoFundMe page to try to help him out while he didn't have a job, and they raised $10,000 in donations.
Dang,
just on that one page.
That's pretty great.
And then on top of that, if there's not another cherry on top of this ice cream sundae that is this story, he has had several job offers or several employers contact him about jobs.
That's great.
So he got $10,000 and possibility for new jobs.
Probably better jobs too.
Probably better jobs. I mean,
probably better jobs and better like paying jobs.
You know what? I actually had a boss, because I was technically fired once.
Because it was fired a couple times.
Well, it was one of those where like she fired me, but I said I quit. And what it was is I had two jobs.
Right.
And one I was making $10 an hour, 11, maybe more, working 40 hours a week.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one I was making $9.50 and not working nearly as many as 40 hours a week.
Right.
So what I did is the one was a car service. That was the one that I wasn't getting paid that much for. And I forgot to I requested a day off with my work or my actual job.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, "Well, I need you 4 days. So can I impede on one of your other jobs' days?" I said, "Yeah, that's fine as long as I apply." Now, this was partly my fault. I'm not going to lie. Okay? So I called her one day before. Mind you, when I was interviewed, it was over the phone.
Mm-hmm.
I was never given any formal contract or anything. I was never given a sheet of rules or list of rules or anything like that. Pretty much as long as I didn't get in an accident, I was okay. She never told me how many days in advance I had to ask for time off. So I texted her 2 days before. Okay? So it's not like it's very last minute. It's kind of last minute, but not very last minute. 2 days before and said, "Hey, by the way, I can't work this day." Now I fibbed a little bit and I said my other work accidentally scheduled me.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't. It was it was my doing, but I was trying
Right.
to fluff it out a little bit. And I said, "So I can't work that day." And she said, "Well, I need you to work. I already have the schedule done. You need to tell me 3 days in advance." Mind you, no one told me
Right.
that I needed 3 days. And I was calling her 2 days in advance.
Right, which isn't, I mean...
And I was supposed to work the next day. And she's like, "Well, if you don't show, or if you can't, or something about if you can't do this, then pretty much I was fired if I didn't go."
Right.
Or she's basically making me choose. And I said, "Well, then I guess," I said, let me tell you what, I'm not going to choose you. Because you are not my primary job. I have a job that makes, I said, I'm not going to stop, quit my 40-hour-a-week job for you.
Right.
She said, "Don't bother coming in tomorrow." I said, "I didn't plan on it."
Right.
Because it's like, you know what? I was given hardly any information.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, I liked the job. I complained a lot because we picked up a lot of very lazy people. We also picked up a lot of people who were trying to use the government. But other than that, I liked the job. I met a lot of very nice people. I worked with a couple friends of mine. But it just wasn't worth it in the end.
You know, I mean, sometimes that's the case with a job. Sometimes you just gotta, give up one opportunity for better opportunities.
And I think that's what this gentleman did. In the end, he was for kind of, he made the decision that he felt was right. I agree with him. I think the rest of America agrees with him. The only person that doesn't is that employer.
Right.
And you know what? If anybody finds out who that employer is, they're probably going to be in big trouble. Like, do you know who?
Well, it wouldn't be hard for them to find out. I mean, literally, this guy could, man.
All it takes is one of his friends to know who he'd take.
All he had to do was maybe release the name to the right person, and the employer who fired him would be just listed on a slander list. People would be tearing him apart.
I was gonna say, but not only that, people would refuse to work for him.
Yeah, it's
and
man,
he would go out of business.
Yeah.
That is the worst. Especially family things like this. Now, I don't know his job history. It didn't say that. But the fact that it seemed like he was fired based on the fact that he had a family emergency.
Right.
Now, I had a family emergency the other day. My girlfriend was at work, and she was trying to get a box and some like shelves that they were like basically they were shelves to show items because the way their walls are made, they can put up different shelves on the wall.
Right.
They were leaning up against the wall, or so April thought. When she pulled this box away that she needed, the shelves just kind of fell on her.
Ooh, is she okay?
She's fine. Um, Everything turned out okay. Well, I went down to my boss right when I found out, and I said, "Listen," because it hit her in the head. I said, "Listen, I need to leave." And he said, "Well, I can't force you to stay." He's like, "But I have literally no coverage." So I did everything I could to make sure he had cover. I had coverage for my shift.
Mm-hmm.
We got coverage for everything, and I left. And he was very nice about it. He said, "Man, it's no problem." All he really was concerned about was whether my shift was
Covered
or not, which I completely understand.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I mean, it's. I feel like it's the employer's responsibility to, you know, to kind of be sympathetic to things like this. Like, okay, well, can you find someone to cover your shift or?
But you see, one of the big things you need in a job is first of all an employer that's understanding.
Right.
Like if you have an employer who's really intimidating, or they have a really bad attitude about such things, or
Right.
it makes just transitioning this kind of stuff so much harder. Like
Right.
I've had bosses before where it's like you give them plenty of time in advance or something, and they're like, oh well, I can't do that for you, And I'm like, well, I'm sorry, but this is more important than my job. And then they end up managing to make it happen for you, but they're like super crappy to you about it.
I've worked at a restaurant where if you took a day off, it was like you just committed the ultimate sin.
Right. Well, no, or if you call in sick in the
Or if you
restaurant
called
industry.
in sick.
If you call in sick in the restaurant industry, it's like the next time you go and you're getting chewed.
Right.
But
Well, no, it wasn't that. It was like he was really mad when I called in, but when I came back, he was like, "Oh, are you feeling better?" Blah 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 blah. So I didn't get chewed out when I got back, but he wasn't happy with me.
Right.
And I try not to call in if I don't have to. Like I told several other people, if my girlfriend had gotten hit on the arm, the shoulder, the back, things like that, I probably would have stayed at work, sent somebody else over there.
But you got hit in the head.
But she got hit in the head. And to me, when somebody gets hit in the head, I don't care what I'm doing. I'm going to drop whatever I'm doing. And I'll make, like I said, I made sure I had cover. And I will do that. And if I couldn't have found coverage, I would have stayed. And I would have sent my grandma. But if I can make it, if I can absolutely make it, I will, because I don't feel like I can be that productive knowing my girlfriend could be hurt, not knowing the complete story. Just know that she was dizzy, she was going to urgent care, and that was all I knew.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And it's all priorities too.
Right.
It's like you got to figure out, what needs you more. And like if I'm sick and I got to call into work, the first question I'm gonna ask is like, okay, well, if I go in and work, am I going to be okay by the end of the shift?
Right.
And the answer may be yes, the answer may be no, and if it's if it's no, then I'll call in.
There was one day when we were in school and we had class, and I was at April's apartment, and I was gonna get up and go. I was in the process of getting dressed.
Mm-hmm.
I had a really stuffy nose, and I went to blow my nose, and it just started bleeding and bleeding and bleeding and bleeding and bleeding, and that happened about 3 times.
And this was at Specs?
No, this was when I was at my girlfriend's house.
Ah.
I had to go to Specs because we had class that day.
Right.
And,
yeah. No.
And
This was during our time at Specs.
Right. I emailed the teacher and I said, "Listen, I cannot come in. I'm sick."
Right.
And they were like, "Oh, okay," And then I got a call from the school, and they're like, "Are you okay? Just wanted to, yeah, missed a class yet, and blah 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 blah."
Yeah, that's another thing too.
I was gonna get up and go. I felt horrible, but I was gonna get up and go. But until I got those, I was getting constant nosebleeds, and I'm like, I'm not gonna go to school. I don't even know if I can make it to school.
Right.
Like this.
That's another thing that's great about Specs too. Like the faculty there is just amazing. They're all so understanding and everything. Anytime any kind of issue ever came up, I don't think I ever actually missed an entire day. I was late a couple times, but I never missed a day.
I missed one entire class. And that was and I think it was once, and it was just because I was, like I said, I felt I couldn't go. Like, I physically could not go.
Right.
And you know, I'll push through. Like there's days that I don't want to go to work, and I push through that, and I go to work. You know,
Right. I think everybody has that. Like
and
every day they go to work.
I was gonna say, and I could find excuses to get out of you know family emergency things that are going on, but you know I push most of them off, and you know try to see if I can get someone else over there. But like I said, that there's a line, and if it's crossed, I'm leaving.
Right.
So
I
anyway,
hear
I
you
was
there
just
though.
I was shocked at this employer's response that like pretty much you're gonna be fired if you don't come in.
Honestly, um, I'm not sure if the this Lamar guy. I don't think I'm not sure if he ever mentioned the employer's name, but if he did,
Nope.
Lamar definitely had a lot of power in this scenario. All he would have to do is really say his employer's name in any kind of press situation, and people would know. And
And
this employer and that business, they would probably be, like I said, they'd probably be put on some kind of slander list. Like they would be catching so much hate for that.
and you know it's kind of funny. I feel like he's a bigger man for not saying anything.
Exactly. Yeah, I can't say I would be. Like if somebody put me in that situation, I'd probably make they pay. I would probably make them pay. Like I'd be like, I'll be like, yeah, this guy is the one who did it, and I'd be the person to make an uproar about it.
Right. Anyway, no, I just thought I'd share that because I was dumbfounded when I read that. I'm like, and I that was the text verbatim.
It's like, yeah, literally, if you're having a baby, well, or if you're about, if you're about to be a father and your wife's having a baby, either situation, if your boss can't understand that, then they should not be your boss.
Right.
So, I think it's great that, it sucks that everything went down the way it did, but the aftermath, him, the GoFundMe and all the job offers and all
Yep.
that stuff, I think he was more than deserving for that. He's a good man, and you
Right.
know what? I'm sure he's a good father too, because he was there. He was there for his son when he was born. He's like, you know what? I'm not gonna work here if you're not gonna let me have the time off to go, see the birth of my son.
And sometimes that's all it takes.
Exactly. So
Um.
yeah.
Anyway, moving on. So I try not to get too political on this show, and I want to cover this next topic because not for a political reason, but just because I think it was something cool that Obama did before he left the White House. So he wrote a farewell note to America.
I thought you were gonna say he changed the Wi-Fi password.
Not at all. That'd be really funny. But no, Biden probably did that.
Yeah.
Hashtag Biden memes.
I love all those Biden memes. Like I like the one where it's like just wave Joe and Joe's just like I'm gonna point at him.
I'm gonna point at him. No, anyway. So I wanted to cover this because I thought it was really cool. So I guess it's a tradition for the current president to leave a note or like a letter in the Oval Office for the incoming president. You know, kind of any advice they've got to give him, and anything like that. And so President Obama wrote this letter, and I'm debating should I read the whole thing. I was thinking about it. It's not terribly
Right now,
long.
my Chromebook just crashed, so I'm actually reloading it right now. I didn't get a
I mean,
chance
it's
to
not
read the whole thing.
terribly long. I've got some inserts that I really like.
Oh, hang on. Let me take a look. I'd say just read it.
Okay. And the thing that caught my eye is the name of it, or the like what's on written on the top. It says, "You made me a better president, and you made me a better man." So this is kind of cool because it's kind of an insight on how the presidency has affected him and made him a better person, and that's what I like about it.
Right.
You know, kind of all politics aside, he refers to a couple things that happened while he was president, and that was it. So it starts off, "My fellow Americans," like he always does. It is the long-standing tradition for the sitting president of the United States leaving a parting letter in the Oval Office for the American elected to take his or her place. It's a letter meant to share what we know, what we've learned, and what small wisdom we may help our successor bear the great responsibility that comes with the highest office in our land and the leadership of the free world. But before I leave my note for our 45th president, I wanted to say a final thank you for the honor of serving as your 44th president. Because of all that I've learned in my time in the office, I've learned from you. You've made me a better president, and you made me a better man. Throughout these 8 years, you've been the source of goodness, resilience, and hope from which I pull my strength. I've seen neighbors and communities take care of each other during the worst economic crisis of our lifetimes. I've mourned and grieved with families searching for answers, and found grace in Charleston Church. I've taken heart from the hope of the youngest graduates of our newest military officers. I've seen our scientists help paralyzed man regain in sense of touch, and wounded warriors once given up for dead walk again. I've seen Americans whose lives have been saved because they finally have access to medical care, and facilities and families who live lives have been changed because their marriages are recognized and as equal to our own. I've seen the youngest children remind us through their actions, through their generosity, of our obligation to care for refugees or work for peace, and above all, to look out for each other. I've seen you, the American people, in all your decency, determination, good humor, and kindness, and in your daily acts of citizenship. I've seen our future unfolding. All of us, regardless of our party, should throw ourselves into that world, or into that work, that joyous world of citizenship, not just when there is an election, not just when our own narrow interests are at stake, but for the full span of a lifetime. I'll be right there with you every step of the way. And when the arc of the process seems slow, remember, America is not the project of any one person. The single most powerful word in our democracy is the word we. We the people, we shall overcome. Yes, we can. So I think
powerful.
I think it is. And like he said, we need to put our parties aside, because one thing that kind of really bugs me is, there's been a lot of protesting and things like that, and everybody has a right to protest. I'm not saying that, but there's been violence that has come up from it, and I feel like we need to go on, put on our big boy pants, put our parties aside, put our differences aside, and do what we think is best for America.
Right.
It's like, okay, in past elections, even when Obama was elected, the other party didn't vote for him, didn't really protest, or at least not that I know of. If they did, it didn't last too long.
Right.
It didn't end up in violence. And so I feel like this election should be the same way. We shouldn't have. Now, I'm not saying people shouldn't, if you want to protest, that's fine, but I'm saying we need to take a step back from, like you said, our narrow interest, or self-interest, and just kind of, look at what's good for our economy, okay? And I've seen a lot of people who, they're like, well, I didn't vote for him, but let's see what he can do.
I think one of the most ridiculous things about these protests is that there's a lot of people out there like protesting who didn't even vote.
Right. That is one thing that bugs me. My motto is, if you did not vote, you cannot complain.
Right.
So
it's
it's
a pretty good quote.
Well, and I told my girlfriend, because she wasn't able to vote. She, because she thought that she could go and re-register at a polling place because we moved.
Right.
And she found out she couldn't vote, and I said, I don't care what the reason. The rhyme or reason doesn't matter. If you didn't vote, you can't complain.
Right.
But then she turned it over on me and said, well, you can't complain if you don't like what, the person that you voted for does. And I said, that's not true. I can. Because at the time, with the knowledge I had, I made the decision I thought was right.
Right.
So I have every right to, but I feel very strongly that if you did not vote,
you can't complain.
You can't complain. It is your right not to vote. It is also your right to vote. But with that choice, it also comes because if you tell me you did not vote, I will stop listening to you. I will not listen to what all you're complaining because you didn't put in your say.
Right. Like I voted in past elections, and sometimes I can't honestly say I'm happy with my past votes. But at the same time, looking back and seeing who the other person was in the election, I still can't even complain with my vote.
And see, you know what? No matter the outcome of this election, I would have, I wouldn't have went out and protested. I would have said, okay, let's see what they can do. They promised me all these things. Let's see it happen.
Right.
And, I'm not trying to get into politics. I'm just saying, I really like this letter because it was one to the American people, and it's telling everyone that, we need to set our differences aside, and we need to do what's best for America. We need to come together as a community, and as America, we're strong enough that, I love what he said about how this has changed him and made him a better person, and the things he's seen.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think we need to give our current president the same respect and the same experience that we gave our past president.
Right.
Again, I would have said this no matter who was president, but that's just what I feel. But I really like this letter because it's not really political. It's telling it's telling us how it made him a better person. Because a lot of people joke, yeah, he's gotten a lot of gray hair. He's got a lot of responsibility. I feel like
are you talking about Obama?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
No. If you look at any president, okay, George W. Bush, he went in, he was kind of gray. He went out, he was like bad. Barack Obama,
he didn't have a gray hair on his head.
Didn't have a gray hair on his head. Almost completely gray now.
Yeah, I'd say for the time, electoral, or whatever person spends in office, I literally think they age twice as fast while they're in there. Like if you're a president for like a full 8 years, you're aging at least 16 years in that time.
But you know what's funny? I feel like this is the only president that has put out a letter that said, "Listen, this is what I like. This is awesome."
It's not the first time presidents have left letters, though. I know there's been times in the past where presidents have left a letter to the next president.
No. That's a thing. That always happens during change of power. Mm-hmm. What I'm saying is this is the first time a president has left a letter for the people.
So wait, did he not leave it? He didn't leave a letter for Trump.
Yes,
then,
he did.
He did. So he left a letter for Trump, and he also left a letter for the people.
He talked about how it's a long-standing tradition for a president to leave, or the departing president to leave a letter in the Oval Office. So the elected president,
tips and tricks, all that.
Right. And he said somewhere in here, "But before I leave my note for our 45th president."
Mm-hmm.
So he wrote this before he left, and before he wrote the note to our current president.
Okay, so then he wrote then he wrote Trump's note after that.
Right.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is, which one I do like, because it's kind of like, okay, this is what you need to know. This is what has helped me. Here's some advice.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good system.
Do you think Obama is happy to have the stress or the weight of being president off his shoulders?
I think he is.
Think so?
If you did you get a chance to watch the inauguration?
I did not. I know.
It was so you know how President Obama, he always sits very proper, like his whole presidency, very set, very proper,
professional.
If you watch him at the inauguration, he sat down, he kind of leaned back in his chair a little bit, had his leg up on his other leg, and he was just kind of relaxing. And it was really nice to see him do that, because like I said, you've always seen him very proper, very, so it was kind of nice to see him take that, and it kind of, it looked like he was relaxed. He hasn't looked relaxed for 8 years, so.
Yeah, I can't think of a time where I ever saw Obama and be like, oh, he looks relaxed.
But no, and like I said, politics aside, I think this is an awesome letter. One, because it's to the American people, but two, I like how it says, okay, it's done. Let's put everything down. this is what we need to do. He's like, this is what has changed me. This is what I've seen. And, and he says, we the people, or my favorite quote of this whole thing is he says, America is not the project of any one person. It is the single most powerful word, in our democracy is the word we. And then he ends it with, we the people, we shall overcome. Yes, we can. So we can overcome anything we need to, but to do that, I feel like we need to come together as a people.
Yeah, this country definitely needs to do practicing and standing together.
Which we're not doing right now. But I love this letter, one, because it wasn't not really anything to do with politics. It was, his last letter, his last, like, I want to say like his last act as president, if you will.
Yeah.
Because I consider this an act. It's a letter calling, his people, the American people together.
Mm-hmm.
And, I've always loved how he starts off with my fellow Americans.
Yeah. Definitely. It's like
he was, and one
he
thing
was definitely one of us.
One thing I do have to give him props for is he was always very good at public speaking.
Oh yeah.
He was a phenomenal public speaker. Phenomenal.
Definitely.
And I think it really shows in this letter, as it did with his farewell speech that he gave the day of the inauguration.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch it.
You really need to. It's a really, really good thing to watch. Anyway.
How was Trump in it?
He was good. It was kind of funny because he thanked everybody, including Obama, and then went back and kind of literally bashed everybody all in one sentence, like one or two phrases.
That sounds like something Trump would do. But either way, though,
anyway,
this all reminds me of one of my favorite quotes as far as politics go, and it was a quote, I believe it was Abraham Lincoln, and it was his quote where he says, "A house divided against itself cannot stand."
Yes.
And, Obama's letter, I think, is a good example of, hey, America, let's come together because of this,
Exactly.
So, I'm kind of, it's always been a quote that I really believe in. And, especially during election times, even though, like, back then, originally they were like, hey, guys, don't do this two-party system. Bad things are going to happen. And then Republicans and Democrats happened. And then, collapse everything into chaos during election years.
The two-party system, I think, is nice because
I don't believe in a two-party system. I think that...
See, but we're always going to have different opinions. We're always going to have different... But the cool part is that when it matters, we have been able to come together as one people.
Yeah.
But you're always going to have these differences. Why not have them in organized parties?
I guess, that stands, but you got to think, you have all these different parties that stand for certain things, and the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, yeah, they each stand for their own general things, but I mean, like, you get your Green Party and all that stuff. There's too much emphasis on Democrats and Republicans. Here it is, the way the party system is built up right now, it always comes down to the same two. And really, it's the lesser of two evils, the shinier of two turds. And it seems like every election, it comes around, it gets a little worse. Now, I'm not bashing Obama. I'm not bashing Trump. But I can't say that I felt particularly strong for any candidate, any Republican or Democratic candidate in my life. I mean, there's presidents who have belonged to certain parties in the past that I really supported. Right. My favorite president of all time was Theodore Roosevelt. I think he was an amazing man. I wish I could have met him. I wish we could have had him as a president. But
I think JFK could have done wonders.
The way the party system is built up now, it's always going to come down to, two candidates. The other parties, it's like, yeah, they're there, but, they're not going to win. It's always going to be down to Republicans and Democrats. The secondary parties, that's what they are. They're secondary parties. and none of them are ever going to win because of this two-party leading system. Half the people who vote don't even realize what other options there are. Like, they don't look into it and everything like that. I didn't even know about Jill Stein until a week before the election because I was hearing so much about Trump and Hillary all the time. And really, like, it was just... I don't think that America is going to be able to make a significant change for itself until we abandon this two-party system and go in a different direction voting-wise.
Anyway.
But
getting away from politics.
That's just my opinion of it. Yeah, I don't even like getting into politics.
Anyway, I thought this letter was nice.
Yes, the letter is nice.
It was kind of like
Obama. I'm gonna have to watch the inauguration.
It was kind of like a last hurrah.
Definitely.
So that's why I thought it was cool. And I think it is time for a special segment of Welcome to
the Multiverse. Love it, love it, love it. So, yeah, with all that being said, time to move away from politics. And this week...
Let me guess, space.
Actually, yes.
Gee, how did I know?
This week, I took a look at things and I thought for like the past 2 or 3 weeks that I've been on the show, I've pretty much been, since the holiday season, I've pretty much been talking about technology. And, a lot of it at first was, like, technology.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No, there's nothing wrong with that. But it's, like, a lot of it was, like, technology that you could get somebody for, like, the holidays. Or, other kinds of technology. Technology, that's heading towards our future. And, you know what? Looking into all this stuff, I've had a lot to talk about to a lot of people in the past couple weeks. Like, at the auto show, there was a lot of technology talk there. With alternative energies and AI and self-driving cars. Yeah, it's a technological, thing. But all that being said, I figured, yeah, as long as you're talking about space, there's always going to be some technology in there. But I figured it's been a while since I've done some space stuff on the show. So, that being said, I'm going to move into my first topic, which is the Atlas V rocket making its successful launch. A United Launch Alliance Atlas V rocket blasted off from Cape Canaveral Friday evening and boosted a missile early warning satellite into orbit, the third in a constellation of sophisticated space-based infrared sensors capable of detecting intercontinental ballistic missiles as well as smaller tactical weapon and even forest fires. So basically, it's a detection, attack, and defense system. Basically, it's going to let us know if there's any kind of missiles heading or being launched anywhere. It's going to let us know if there's any major catastrophic disasters going off, like a volcano going off or even a forest fire. So this is cool. The workhorse Atlas V's Russian-built RD-180 first stage engine flashed to life at 7:42 p.m. EDT, spooling up to full thrust and pushing the 188-foot-tall booster away from Pad 41 at the Cape Canaveral Air Force Station, lighting up the night sky with a brilliant jet of fire exhaust. It would be kind of, I wouldn't say it's on my bucket list, but sorry, I got a head cold. But I think it'd be pretty cool to see a rocket launch.
Yes,
I mean,
very much so.
Especially at night, just seeing the jet, the fiery jet exhaust trail.
Right.
That would be a sight to see. But anyways, launch did come a day late, though, because of the instrumental glitch Thursday night involving the RD-180 that triggered a half-hour delay. Then, after that, inside of 4 minutes of takeoff, an aircraft strayed into restricted airspace, and the entire launching was scrubbed for the day. It kind of stinks that, like, just a little thing, like... I mean, I understand it, but, like, here it is, it's like one thing wanders into restricted airspace, and they have to shut everything down. That one thing, it could be anything. It could be, an attack. So, it's understandable that they do that, but at the same time, it's also very unfortunate to be, like, put all this hard work into something for this time, and then it all get shut down because of, a helicopter or something that strayed in a mile away, So that's unfortunate. But either way, it was clear sailing Friday, and the RD-180 generating 860,200 pounds of thrust quickly boosted the rocket and its payload out of the dense lower atmosphere. Over the next 9 days, onboard thrusters will move the solar-powered spacecraft into a circular orbit 22,300 miles above the equator, where satellites take 24 hours to complete one trip around the planet and thus appear stationary in the sky. From its eventual perch...
I feel like there's a lot of obstacle illusions when it comes to space.
Yeah.
I mean, we're spinning so fast that we don't even know it. You got the moon that's just kind of rolling around us.
Exactly. Astro trajectory and all that jazz. If you watch very, very closely, and I mean very closely, you can actually tell which ones are stars and which ones are satellites.
No, I know. I've sat there and watched satellites.
It's kind of fun.
Yes.
Especially if you're out, like, in a dark, open area where there's, like, no...
I know. I've been in the middle of the woods before. I went out on the dock where you can see the stars. You go from miles... Like, literally, the water will reflect the stars, so it looks like a never-ending sky.
Oh, that's cool.
It is. It is a beautiful sight.
Anyways, from its eventual perch, the Cybers GEO-3 satellite will be able to monitor broad areas in the hemisphere below. The new satellite will join two other cyber spacecrafts already in geosynchronous orbit. A fourth satellite is actually scheduled for launch in November that use telescopes and sophisticated infrared and staring sensors to constantly monitor the planet below. The sensors can quickly detect the heat produced by a rocket during launch, allowing the spacecraft to quickly plot the path of the missile and determining where the flight originated. The Cybers constellation as a whole delivers timely, reliable, accurate missile warning and surveillance information to the President, the Secretary of Defense, combatant commanders, intelligence communities, and other key decision makers. The Cybers constellation as a whole delivers... Nice, like yep. Anyways, the Cybers satellites are built by Lockheed Martin, incorporating sensor suites provided by Northrop Grumman. Cybers GEO-3 and 4 are valued at $1.2 billion altogether, including the cost of the rockets needed to launch them. So I think I know I pretty much say this about all my topics because that's why I choose them, but this is pretty cool. Basically, this is, a detection system, that contacts, any important decision makers, including the President, anytime any missile is launched anywhere. And it's not just missiles, but, it's any heat sources, like forest fires, or, volcanic eruptions, anything like that, it's cool. It kind of reminds me of the Star Wars program that I think Bush enacted, and it was meant to be something very similar to this. What do you think, Aaron?
I don't really have an opinion. I think space is cool, rockets are awesome, and go Star Wars.
Fair enough. Either way, so this is another step towards the future. It's it'd be kind of cool to live in a day where first of all, how there's the Mutual Destruction Pact.
Yep.
Where every country has nukes, and if any country sets off nukes, it's pretty much gonna be the end of humanity.
It'll be the end of the world.
Yep. Well, not really. The world will live. We'll die, and pretty much everything on Earth will die. No,
because it'll kill everything.
Well, yeah, but it's not gonna make the planet collapse.
You don't know that.
Okay. Anyways, what was I saying? I think that would be kind of cool because with technology like this, eventually maybe we could overcome this new Mutual Destruction Pact, and any potential threats or missiles, actually launched anywhere could just be deactivated or disintegrated or whatever, like a zap defense system, that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Either way, again, that's more towards the future, and we'll see where things go. That being said, I'm gonna move into this next topic, which is freeze-dried food in one bathroom is basically a description for this simulation.
Freeze-dried food in one bathroom.
It's for this, yes.
Is that kind of like Taco Bell, 10 people in one bathroom?
You'll see.
Oh, okay.
Basically, it's a simulation dome for a Mars mission, and 6 people are accounted for this. Crammed into a dome with one bathroom, 6 scientists will spend 8 months munching on mostly freeze-dried foods, with a rare treat of Spam, and have only their small sleeping quarters to retreat for solace. The simulated stay on Mars, with a carefully selected crew of researchers, embarked on a mission Thursday to gain insight into the psychological toll of a similar real-life voyage would have on the astronauts. It's part of a NASA-funded human behavior experiment that would help the space agency send humans to the Red Planet in the next 20 years. The man-made dome that the 4 men and 2 women call home is outfitted with futuristic white walls and an elevated sleeping platform on the world's largest active volcano in Hawaii. The vinyl-covered shelter spans 1,200 square feet, or about the size of a small 2-bedroom house. The dome is set in a barren, rock-strewn, and reddish landscape, with distant hills giving the feel of a wind-swept and forbidding environment. They will have no physical contact with people from the outside world and will work in 20-minute delay in communications with their support crew, the time it would take for an email to reach Earth from Mars. That's kind of cool that they can simulate that time delay. NASA hopes to send humans to an asteroid in the 2020s. Yeah, NASA's planning to send humans to an asteroid in the 2020s.
Why would you want to visit an asteroid?
Well, first of all, it could be rich in materials.
Yes, but it's on fire. And it's falling.
Not necessarily. Technically, fire... I don't know the specifics of fire in space. And basically, we're planning for Mars by the 2030s. The team members included engineers, a computer scientist, a doctoral candidate, and biomedical expert. They were selected from 700 applicants, subjected to personality traits or tests, backgrounds, and checks, and extensive interviews. This experimental greenhouse-like habitat in Arizona became a debacle in the 1990s. It housed different ecosystems and a crew of 8 to try and understand what would be needed for humans to live on other planets. The participants were supposed to grow their own food and recycle their air inside the sealed glass space. But the experiment soon spiraled out of control. With the carbon dioxide level rising dangerously and plants and animals dying, the crew members grew hungry and squabbled so badly that by the time they emerged 2 years later, some of them weren't speaking to each other. That's another one.
That's what happens when you cram a whole bunch of human beings in a little box and expect them to all get along.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I would think is the most miserable part of space travel. Having to deal with the same people for an extended period of time, and
it's not just an extended period of time.
Else.
Like, it's years.
And you're just cramming.
Like, I can barely stand, 20 minutes in a car with some people. Much less years in space.
Yeah, imagine you and 5 other people who are a good chance you've never met. And all of you are basically crammed into, a small house, 2 bedrooms.
So Big Brother?
And what?
So Big Brother?
I suppose.
Like the show?
Oh, no, I don't know that show. But anyways, it's like imagine
a whole bunch of people that don't know each other crammed into a house.
Yeah, like a 2-bedroom house with 1 bathroom. You have to grow your own food and all that jazz.
They didn't have to grow their own food, but
it would be, I don't know. I can't imagine it's enjoyable. Anyways, the University of Hawaii operates the dome called Hawaii Space Exploration Analog and Simulation, or HI-SEAS. And NASA has dedicated more than $2 million to the stage of the project. Scientists previously lived in the dome for two other long-term NASA-funded stays, one of them lasting a year, the other lasting 8 months, to study food requirements and crew cohesion. The number of other Mars simulation projects exist around the world, but one of the chief advantages of the Hawaii experiment is the rugged Mars-like landscape on the rocky red plain below the summit of the world's largest active volcano, the Big Island's Mauna Loa. The dome has a kitchen, laboratory, and bathroom, plus small sleeping quarters for each member. Unlike Biosphere 2, it won't be airtight. To maintain the crew's sense of isolation, bundles of food, including some canned goods and snacks, will be dropped off at a distance from the dome, and then the team members will send a robot to retrieve them. The participants will not be confined, but will wear spacesuits when they step outside the geological expeditions, mapping studies, or other tasks. They will wear instruments measuring their moods and proximity or other team members, and use virtual reality devices to simulate familiar and comforting surroundings. So, they're pretty much like trying to pull out all the stops with this, trying to make it as realistic of a simulation as possible, which really is the goal of a simulation.
Right.
It's kind of cool, having like that all this technology that can watch, measuring your mood and proximity to other team members, and using virtual reality devices in this experiment to simulate familiar, comforting surroundings. That's cool. I like that.
I think so.
Imagine. I think one of the best things to have in such a situation where you are, trapped in a confined space is the kind of technology that can help you simulate within a simulation something else. I mean, imagine you're sleeping in this, bed cot in a, 6-person dome on Mars, but you're experiencing a simulation of laying in your comfy bed at home here on Earth. That would definitely help ease some of the stress, So, like I said, they're pulling out all the stops with this. You can't really plan such a huge program without having some simulations. That way you can see, predict what's going to happen. And even then, when you actually do it, there's going to be some factors you didn't account for. There's always something you forget. Just like when you go on a trip somewhere, there's always something you forget at home that you wish you would have brought. So, they're working on completing that, and, we're going to be starting some manned exploration missions in the next 10, 20 years, which is good to hear. This is one of the things I believe in.
The only problem I foresee with this is it just takes one person that kind of goes crazy there to where he starts to believe that everything in that virtual reality world is real.
Right.
And you get kind of an Inception thing going on.
Yeah, that would be unfortunate. Yeah, that would be pretty bad, though. I mean, I know they do lots of personality testing and background checking on these people, but at the same time, a lot of these people have never been in a confined space for extended periods of times, There's a good chance that you get that one guy who's going to go bat crap crazy and smear his dookie on the wall.
Did you just say the word dookie?
I did say dookie. But, that would be really unfortunate to be on a big, serious thing like that, and then you got this guy who just snaps. That's got to be fun. Sorry. I've had a head cold for, the past, week.
Well, if your head's cold, put a hat on.
What do you think I'm wearing right now?
Shh.
But no, it's I've been, really congested and coughing and scratchy in the throat. It's horrible. Anyways, moving on to the next topic, which kind of circles back to my first one a little bit. About defense against outside forces. And it talks about how an AI could be our most intelligent defense against hackers. In an age where cyber attacks are multiplying in frequency, intensity, and scale, I'm sure you've heard about all these hackings and all that stuff.
Yes, I have.
I don't know if it's a distraction or from something else, or if we're actually being hacked. I don't know. It hasn't really personally affected me yet, but
me either.
See. But we've gotten used to asking the wrong questions. The jump to who did it really does us a disservice. In reality, chasing attribution for cyber attacks is almost 100% fruitless, given how easy it is to cover and obscure one's tracks. What we need to think about is how. How did these individuals get in? How was it so easy? Why was it so easy? Cylance, a company that's attempting to rehaul the norms of cybersecurity, is using AI machine learning algorithms. Cylance's software attempts to apply artificial intelligence algorithms to ward off future attacks. In simple terms, Cylance deploys smart algorithms that dynamically analyze attacks of the past in order to present similar events in the future. Machine learning algorithms take large amounts of data that we would initially fall asleep trying to process and never forget what they process, and they can learn from that to make great decisions going forward. It's like a computer reading computer code, Expanding the use of machine learning technology in cybersecurity could be a game changer and reshape the industry's effectiveness. Delegating more analysis to AI-powered systems could free security companies from the need to hire large numbers of qualified security analysts to map existing attacks. Instead, security companies could free their workers' schedules to solve more complex puzzles, for instance, analyzing a sophisticated attack that managed to bypass existing algorithms. Artificial intelligence has been a major talking point, invoking both excitement and anxiety among the millionaires, billionaires, and industry leaders attending this year's annual meeting at Davos. Really, though, it has been, though. Everybody is either excited or anxious about the existence of artificial intelligence.
Right.
You got your people who think it's amazing, it's going to make things easy, and you got those other people who think it's going to become self-aware and kill us all. What do you think?
I'd be one of those people. I feel like if you're teaching it to learn, it could become self-aware.
Yeah, I
And
think
it could start killing us.
Yeah, I think there would need to be cap out points like directly installed, or certain aspects that just stay away from. Kind of like
I mean, come on. How many movies have you seen where they're like, it's a machine, it can't feel, and then it can feel, and then it kills us?
Yeah. Yeah. But you also have to think those are movies. Granted, it's not smart to try and genetically clone dinosaurs.
May I remind you, we just passed the anniversary of when Marty McFly and Doc Brown came to 2016.
Yeah, and look how accurate that was.
They were only off by flying cars and hoverboards.
They were off by more than that. Like those hydration system ovens, like you put a pizza that's like the size of your hand in, and then it comes out full size. Or
we've got hydration stuff. It's just not that. It doesn't work that way.
And there's other technologies too, like none that are coming to mind at the moment because I haven't watched that movie in a minute.
We have the self-lacing shoes.
That's true. That's true. They are bringing that into the market now, but even then, that's just now, and this is like 2 years later. Either way.
Right.
Either way, agree to disagree.
I'll disagree.
I think artificial intelligence is a cool thing. I think that in moderation and taking it slow, we'll be able to overcome any kind of potential difficulties that a lot of people are getting anxiety about. But again, you see that kind of stuff in movies, and it's the kind of stuff that makes people anxious. So you really got to think about that, and you got to consider all the possibilities, and you got to consider some of the pros and cons, and all that, and you got to consider that a lot of times these are just movies, which I think is a good time to move us into our next topic. What do you think?
I think it could be.
So with that being said, I think it might be a good time
for
Movie Madness Monday.
Movie Madness Monday.
I think it's great how we could take our artificial intelligence and turn it into talk about movies and then move right into this.
Me too.
So, again, that being said, some of you might have already heard that the Star Wars Episode 8 now has a title. The next chapter of the Star Wars saga films.
Yay, titles!
Yeah, it has an ominous new title, which basically puts it now being called The Last Jedi. Which creates.
They're killing off all the Jedis, aren't they?
There's only like 2 Jedis. Either way, I think it's gonna be interesting to see how this goes.
3, Yoda is still around. We just don't know where he's at.
Yoda is a ghost. He died.
Oh, right. No, did he?
Yeah, he died of old age.
Right.
Yep. He died in Empire Strikes Back, I think. So,
But it said Yoda went away because he felt like it was all his fault.
Are you thinking about the prequels?
No, if you pay attention in the movie that just came out.
Yeah, but if you've seen Return of the Jedi, right? Right at the end, you got Obi-Wan. You got at the very end, they're on Endor, and you got Obi-Wan, you got Anakin, and you got Yoda sitting there as ghosts.
Right.
It even shows Yoda as a ghost.
Is he a ghost or is he just a hologram?
He's a ghost. He's a ghosty. They're on a tree planet. They don't have holograms on a tree planet.
Yes, they do. What are you talking about?
I'm kidding. No, they were ghosts or spirits of the Force, however you want to put it. Anyways, when cameras started rolling last year for the 8th film in the Skywalker family story, writer-director Rian Johnson used the tongue-in-cheek working title Space Bear, and numerous rumors, most of them false, about the possible real title have circulated ever since. The title was announced Monday without any further explanation from Lucasfilms. There's not much to analyze except that the second film in the trilogies, remember Rogue One was a standalone, usually tilts the balance in the favor of the villains.
I was talking about Rogue One. I was talking about Oh crap! What was the movie that came out before Rogue One?
Force Awakens.
Yes.
This is going to be like the sequel to Force Awakens.
Okay. I figured that.
The Empire Strikes Back left the rebellion and our heroes in tatters, and Attack of the Clones similarly brutalized the Jedi and the crumbling Republic. The Last Jedi is bracketed by the traditional Star Wars emblem, which is outlined in what can only be described as a Sith red. The new title also answers one question while raising others: just who is the Last Jedi? Once upon a time, it was Luke Skywalker. But now the obvious answer would seem to be Daisy Ridley's cast-off Rey, who in The Force Awakens discovered powers she never dreamed possible, using the Force to Anakin and Luke Skywalker's old lightsaber from the snow and defeating Kylo Ren, played by Adam Driver, in single combat. Johnson has confirmed that there will be no lapse in time between The Last Jedi and The Force Awakens, with the story picking up close to where the previous one left off. Rey standing before the self-banished Luke Skywalker, played by Mark Hamill, ready to start her Jedi training after helping to deal an explosive blow to the First Order. Does The Last Jedi suggest doom for our old buddy Luke? Perhaps, but not necessarily. Remember, Yoda was also still a Jedi back when Luke was beginning his training as a new, and last hope against Vader in the Empire, although his days on the frontline battle were well behind him. The Last Jedi will hit theaters on December 15th of this year. So I'm marking that in my calendar.
Are you?
I am.
Okay.
But either way, so, they got a good day, or they got a name for it. I actually kind of like how they're doing that. They're kind of playing a name that puts it in the pattern of the previous Star Wars movies. You had Empire Strikes Back, which kind of tilted back in the bad guy's favor. And Attack of the Clones did the same thing, and now this one's gonna do the same with The Force Awakens. It makes me want to It makes me want to watch Star Wars.
You know what date I'm gonna have on my calendar?
What are you gonna have on your calendar?
It's the date when this show comes back. Anything?
BayWatch.
BayWatch is back.
I'm sorry, but the closest time I've ever played any homage to BayWatch was when I was...
BayWatch is awesome. What are you talking about?
What was that movie with that guy? What was it? Not Bruno. Was it Borat? Or was it... It wasn't The Dictator. I don't know. It was the one where he was traveling across the country and he was trying to marry...
Probably Borat.
I think so. He was traveling across the country doing a documentary for Uzbekistan or whatever, and he ended up falling in love with the chick from BayWatch and wanted to marry her, and he tried to kidnap
Pamela
her.
Anderson?
Yeah, Pamela Anderson. And I just thought it was really, really funny.
Anyway, BayWatch is back.
And it has who's gonna be the head in it?
I'm super stoked. So for those of you that don't know, the song I just played was the theme song for a TV show that was back in the 90s. It was about 1990 something. It might have been in the 80s, between 80s and 90s.
It was in
Anyway, it was a TV show about a whole bunch of lifeguards, and that's where the whole slow run came across the beach.
The whole slow run, yeah. Didn't I've seen a couple times where they paid homage to that in other shows.
And they're doing that in the new one as well. Anyway, so this was a TV show. It was on for a while. It was really good, like a lot of 80s and 90s shows. It taught, life lessons at the end of a lot of the different episodes. That one had David Hasselhoff, Pamela Anderson, Michael Newman, and Alexandra Paul, and a whole bunch of others. It was a really good show. It is often mocked. Well, they're coming out not with a show, with a movie of BayWatch. And are you ready for this cast?
Yeah.
So the synopsis is two unlikely prospective lifeguards get a job alongside the buff bodies and who patrol the beach in California. The cast. Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
I think I need to get a drum roll ready. Let's see. Drum roll, please. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Yeah, I guess he's a good pick for that.
What do you mean, I guess? If there's a beach body, if I've ever seen one, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson has it.
I mean, I guess.
The dude can pop his pecs, as we saw in Journey 2.
I didn't see Journey 2.
Oh, you need to see Journey 2. There's a scene, and it's my all-time favorite scene in the movie. They're standing in the middle of the forest, and Dwayne plays like the stepdad, and he's talking to his son about like how he likes this girl, and he's like, "Yo, there's one thing that you need to know." He's like the peck pop, and he starts popping his pecs, and then he's like, "Dude, throw a cherry, throw a cherry." So he throws a cherry at him, and he pops his peck and bounces off and makes it fly. And then in 3D, it comes flying at you. Anyway,
that is by far the most ridiculous thing I have ever heard.
But you would love it if you saw it in the movie.
No, it sounds hilarious. It really does. But
and it was great.
That movie that had to be a stupid, funny movie, wasn't it?
It was one of those things where the mysterious island, everything that's usually big is small, and everything that's small is usually big. So they were riding on giant bees. It was a sequel.
Shaking my head.
It was a sequel to the Journey to the
Center of the Earth.
Yep.
Oh, that's why they call it Journey 2. I never realized that.
It was Journey to the Mysterious Island, but if you look, it says Journey and then the number 2. So it's the second in that series.
Yeah, you know what? That's kind of confusing as far as the title goes.
Anyway.
Not any better than Fast and Furious, though.
Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and then are you ready for this one? I think I need another drum roll. You ready?
Yeah.
You ready? Drum roll. Zac Efron.
Now him I could see being like the guy on a beach.
They both have ridiculous beach bodies.
Yeah, but like Zac Efron's definitely, he's more of a spring break kind of person.
Did you see David Hasselhoff when he was younger?
I didn't watch BayWatch ever.
You didn't have to watch BayWatch. David Hasselhoff did more than just BayWatch.
Actually, I thought it was pretty funny when you watched the SpongeBob movie and David Hasselhoff shows up in that. Have you seen the SpongeBob movie?
I have.
You know the scene I'm talking about?
No, but David Hasselhoff used to be really he had not quite as big as The Rock, but pretty close. And so I think because The Rock plays his old character in this new movie.
Right.
And then it sounds like, I just went through the cast list, but it sounds like you're gonna get cameos from David Hasselhoff and Pamela Anderson.
Well, I mean, I
which would be really sweet.
Yeah, if they're gonna bring back an old show like that or whatever, is this gonna be a movie or a show?
It's gonna be a movie.
It's gonna be a movie.
And it looks really cool, because like the old one, they never really did it didn't really seem like much, like they save people out in the ocean, and there'd be a little bit bigger things going on. But this one is there's like a drug kingpin or something, they're acting like cops, and at one point, the cop is like, let me see if I can explain this to you. You are not cops. But
you see, this sounds like the kind of movie where my favorite character would be the shark just off the beach.
Really?
Yes, I would love this.
Had to go there.
I would love this movie to turn into Jaws.
Anyway, no, but I just got super excited because I used to watch BayWatch with my mom and when I was a little boy, and I loved the show. And it went on for a little while, and then went off air like a lot of good shows do. And I don't know. I just thought it was really cool.
I think that
we get to see BayWatch again in a movie. It comes out right on my calendar. It's May 26th of this year.
I think that BayWatch, it was just always been my held belief or opinion. Granted, I've never watched it, but it always just struck me one of the shows that wouldn't be any better than the Pull-Out Mags.
Really?
I can't imagine.
Had to go there.
I can't imagine it being much better than that. I mean,
you get life lessons. This is what I love about a lot of 80s and 90s
You really got life
shows.
Lessons out of people running slow motion and bikinis.
That only happened once, and they're not bikinis. They're like the single piece lifeguard swimsuits.
Still not really helping the case. But I don't know.
Well, it's not like Pamela Anderson has a freaking actual bikini on where her boobs are practically hanging out.
I mean, no.
They're actually fairly well covered.
I would probably even have a lesser opinion if they did that. So really, I mean, I don't know. It just wasn't really my gig. But, I'm sure people like the show.
I really like the show.
I'm surprised that there's actually lessons in it.
I'm really excited. There's life lessons.
There's life lessons.
Life lessons.
You're sure?
I am.
Well, then you'll have to like just tell me some of these life lessons after you see
I
the
don't
movie.
remember. It's been like I haven't seen the show in years.
Well, you know what? If it's anything, if the movie's gonna be anything like the show, then there'll probably be some life lessons in it. Yeah.
Oh, it looks like an action comedy.
It looks like an act. Well, that's good.
It kind of looks like oh crap, what was that movie? In Central Intelligence.
I can almost guarantee that the movie is gonna have that slow motion run in it at some point.
Oh no, they already teased that because it shows someone running on the beach, like one of the lifeguards running on the beach, and the girl stops and goes, "Does it always look like she's running in slow motion to you?" And he goes, "You see it too." So they do play into that, and there's a scene where the whole cast is running in the slow motion.
Mhm.
But that's just that was their thing.
Yeah, that was the thing.
But they only did it like they didn't do it every show. They just did it like in the intro to the show.
Right.
You know how they've usually got like the intro to the show and then they actually started. It was usually in the intro somewhere.
Yeah. So really, what was the show about exactly?
It was about the life of attractive lifeguards who patrol the crowded beach, but it also taught life lessons. Because like David Hasselhoff's character has a son. And so his son's getting into trouble, and he's teaching, that
Don't tell me that Dwayne The Rock Johnson is David Hasselhoff's son in this movie.
No.
That would be
I
hilarious.
just said Dwayne The Rock Johnson is playing David Hasselhoff's character.
Oh, okay.
Character.
Okay. So.
Sit here and talk for 2 hours, and you don't even listen to me.
Whatever.
Don't.
No.
Me.
I listen to you.
No.
I'm too good to you.
Huh. Anyway. No, I just got really excited when I saw this. I was scrolling through, movies that are coming out, and I'm like, hold the phone, BayWatch. So if you want any more information, you can get it from IMDb, like most of the information on any movie ever created, ever. But that's where I got my information from. There's also a lot more in the cast. There could be more cameos. Those were just the two main ones that everybody knows are David Hasselhoff and Pamela Anderson. So.
Well, that's good. Like I said, I'm probably not going to see it, so you'll just have to tell me how it is. But, I mean, I don't know. I've seen David Hasselhoff do some really good work, though. Like I said, I liked him in SpongeBob.
Really?
No.
He played in Knight Rider.
No.
He
Listen. I'm getting to that. Knight Rider was an amazing show. I think if there's a show that they should turn into a movie, I think Knight Rider should be it.
See, they tried to reboot that show.
When?
They tried to reboot it several years ago. They upped the
car. What was it, Knight Rider 2000?
Yeah.
Oh, no, that was garbage.
I know it was garbage. I just said they tried to reboot it.
Yeah, no, they should.
But I don't think you're getting David Hasselhoff back in that car.
Yeah.
Although Kid is freaking fantastic.
Yeah. I was just playing Grand Theft Auto Online again, and they actually have a mock-up of that.
Nice.
They got like the 80-something, like Camaro / Trans Am.
With the light that goes ding.
Yeah.
Back and forth.
Yeah, I'm actually like trying to save up money in the game so I can get it. Granted, it's like a $5 million car in the game, and it's a pain to get $5 million. But either way though, it looks cool. I plan to get it. It can even jump in the air. It's got the sensory light, and it's got guns and missiles on it, which is cool. That shoot out like the front bumper.
Right.
But and they even put up a couple other cars in this update too. Like they had those ramp cars from Fast and Furious 6, I think it was, where the car like would literally just drive under other cars and flip them. And bunch of stuff. Either way though, David Hasselhoff's been in a lot of good stuff. Like Knight Rider. I grew up with a little bit of Knight Rider because my brother Justin, he actually grew up with it. He was watching it all the time, so I watched some of it. It was really good. I like Knight Rider like I like Dukes of Hazzard. And
you gotta love the Duke.
Yep. And I thought David Hasselhoff was a pretty good jerk of a boss in Click.
That was really funny.
He was a pretty
really funny.
He was a pretty great jerk boss.
My favorite part is when he paused it, gets on the desk, farts in his face.
Yep.
And then he gets down and he plays it and he's like,
that tastes like crap.
Yeah.
Oh man, now I kind of want to watch Click. Except it's sad because that movie starts off so funny and it just gets steadily depressing.
So sad. Anyway, moving on because I'm a cow now. Moo. So there's something that has gotten a lot of controversy, and Mark and I are probably going to argue about it, but I want to bring it up anyway. So,
Rabble.
there's been this video going around about filming from 2015, okay?
Okay.
This was back from 2015, and they just now found it.
Okay.
And it was footage from the movie that's coming out called A Dog's Purpose, okay?
All right.
Now the problem was, okay, so the premise of the movie A Dog's Purpose is there's this dog spirit that's turning into, he pretty much reincarnating into different dogs. And, he's always a remarkable dog. He goes from like a lab to a German Shepherd to different things. Well, when he's a German Shepherd, he's a police dog. And there's a scene of the German Shepherd jumping into like a river-looking thing and saving a person. Okay? Now, this is the footage where the video comes in. So the studio took a pool, they put some outboard motors on it to make it look like a
rushing river.
A raging river. And when you watch the video, and I'm going to say right now, I agree that the trainer was mishandling the dog because he was trying to force the dog, who obviously didn't want to go,
right, into
the river. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, with that being said, everybody's freaking out about that. That's fine. That, he was, but it is under investigation. He has been suspended.
Oh, that's good.
But here's where I have the problem. I have the problem because the second part of the video was edited on. So you've got to set, and it's not even really cleverly edited on. It literally jumps to a scene which could be, it doesn't say when it is, what day, what time, or anywhere. It could be any point, but it's of the dog doing the stunt of him in the water, and something happens and he's not doing, and he didn't look like he did so well or he couldn't swim.
Yeah.
Now, they were talking about this on the show this morning, and I found out that there were several scuba divers underneath the water in case something happened to the dog, like in case he couldn't swim. Okay? Now, the problem I have is everybody's freaking out about that. You don't know if that was the same day. There is no way for you to know that was the same day of filming. That could have been a different day when the dog jumped in on his own and he maybe lost his paw, lost his his doggy paddle or balance or something, and just kind of was like, oh crap.
Right.
But right in that scene, you can see that the director's like, cut, stop, and the trainers jump in. Now here's the biggest problem. When I heard about the video, people kept saying that the trainer was pushing him underwater. Nowhere in that video did I see a trainer pushing a dog under the water.
Right.
I saw in the first half, I saw a trainer trying to force the dog to go under the water. Okay? Which may or may not have been wrong. But then I also see, in a very poorly edited second half of the clip, right when the dog's, something happened, the dog, couldn't swim, the trainer, they called cut, the trainers rushed in. So this could have been 2 weeks from the time, or several days, the next day, or whatever, from the time that first video was taken. This is my problem, okay? Now, you made a statement, and you want to go and make the same statement that you did earlier about not wanting to see the movie?
Well, first of all, I have to make a point that, from what I heard, I haven't looked into it personally, but I heard that they actually canceled the grand premiere for it.
They canceled the premiere because there's a lot of hubbub surrounding this clip.
Yep. And my initial thought, considering this was true, was, it's like I was really upset because the movie itself looks really good. Both me and my girlfriend Jenna, we both absolutely love dogs. So as soon as we saw like the trailer or trailer for the movie, we're like, oh my god, we're gonna cry like babies when we go see this.
That's what I said about my girlfriend. I said, I kind of don't want you to see it because I know you're gonna blubber like 3 or 4 times every time the dog dies and reincarnates.
Right. And it looks like a really good movie. And then I heard about this, and I'm like, well, I was really upset to hear about it because it's sad because First of all, animal cruelty is always sad.
Right.
And second of all, I mean, here it is. It looks like a beautiful movie, except that I feel like if I were to go see it anyways, I'd be supporting animal cruelty.
See, but here's the fact, okay? This is one video out of the entire movie. And from what I've heard, the dog is okay. The dog has actually been trained for stuff like this.
Well, I'm sure the dog's okay now.
And, well, he was fine, obviously, at some point because he still jumped in and did the stunt at some point.
Right.
Because it's in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it could have even been he was having a bad day. I mean, speaking from personal experience, because I have a German Shepherd. He'll be scared of a freaking dust bunny on some days and perfectly fine in eating it the next. And so I feel like it was one of those things where the German Shepherd was just having one of those days where he was afraid of everything. And yes, the trainer went too far. Now, what I did see the trainer doing is like, okay, he tried to like put him in and get his feet wet. Mm-hmm. Now, several times I saw the dog fight the trainer and got back up. Now, a statement I made earlier is that German Shepherd has to weigh about 100 pounds, if not more.
Right.
If that dog doesn't want to go in the water, that dog will not go in the water. Again, from personal experience, my dog's 70 pounds, and I still, if he doesn't want me to do something, I'm not doing it.
See, it's not happening.
That's why right now I'm working on it so where I can pretty much put my hands on him wherever I want to, and he's not to bite me. So that way, when he does get that big, if I need to look at something on his body, like, say he gets fleas or something,
right,
or he has a sore somewhere, I can just lay him down and
take a look.
Okay? Now, being that big of a dog, like I said, if he really did not want to get in that water, I can guarantee you he would not get in that water. And you never saw in that first half of that video him actually, you saw his toes getting in, then you saw his back half getting in. Both times he struggled and got out.
Mm-hmm.
And then it flashes over to him already in the water.
Right.
So again, that second time he could have jumped, it could have been the next day, could have been a fresh start. He could have jumped in the water and did the stunt like he was supposed to, but something happened while he was in the water. Like I said, lost his footing or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when they called cut. And this is the problem that I have with videos like this.
Right, because now that we've gone to school for this kind of stuff, we notice those little things.
Right, but there's a clear jump. There's a time lapse. You don't know what happened. It's kind of like
it's a jump cut.
So today on the show they use this because they were having the same argument. They were using this scenario. Okay, so say you have a video footage of an old lady getting robbed, and then it cuts out, and then you see the old lady laying on the street.
Right.
Okay. In that cut, you could have seen a police officer come over and make sure she was okay and run after the perp.
Right.
Okay? Or running over to get get a stretcher.
Right, a lot can happen.
You don't know what happens in those seconds.
In a microsecond of the moment you see that, any amount of time could have passed.
So this is my biggest problem with this. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, well, I'm not going to go see it because I don't... Okay, one, right now, it was a trainer that made a bad decision, and he's being punished for it. Okay?
Right.
How many other people, whether you've got grips, camera operators, stagehands, anything, how much time do you think that those people put into that movie? Especially the director. This is like their baby.
Right.
He put all this work into the movie. He tried to do what he could. And I heard he did not know about this particular incident with the dog.
Really?
He was unaware that was... So I'm wondering if there were a couple different directors or if he was out that day.
Isn't the director supposed to be there for all shoots?
I mean, if he could have had a family emergency for all we know. Or
That's
there
true.
could be several directors, because they could be shooting around the clock 24/7 to make sure they get the movie done. And if that second director could have been on set.
That's true.
But now, by not going and seeing this movie, it won't get that well of ticket sales. They won't make their money back. And all these people who've put all this work into this movie, you're condemning because of one guy's faults.
Right.
That's my problem with this whole thing. And don't get me wrong, I'm a dog lover. I have 3 dogs. You can count them. 3.
I can count.
But it's like, I don't know, it just really burns me that people are like, oh, well, animal cruelty. No. Now, animal cruelty are the 2 guys that cut the ears and the nose off the dog that was posted around Facebook.
Oh, yeah.
But yet you don't hear
too.
anything about that.
Right.
They're not getting arrested. They're not getting investigated. Anything.
I'm pretty sure they did get arrested.
Did they?
I think.
I would be surprised if they didn't, because they posted a picture with their faces in it.
Either they've been arrested or they're looking for them. But when they're found, they will be arrested now.
But what I'm saying is, we don't hear anything about that. I just saw it on Facebook. I didn't hear anything.
Yeah, I know. I just saw it. I literally just saw it, I think
But
yesterday.
yet this is making headlines nationally.
Yeah.
To me, there's a problem there. If you're really worried about animal cruelty, go on Facebook.
Right.
Type in dog that had his ears cut off. It is very sad. You can't even tell what breed he is.
I think it was a pit bull.
No, it wasn't. I don't think it was a pit. I think it was something else. It could have been a pit. But nonetheless, people are going around spouting out about animal cruelty. And then somebody else, I was watching a video earlier, and somebody made a good point. There was a movie, I'm trying to remember what it was, and there was a scene where somebody ate a goldfish. Okay?
Somebody ate a goldfish?
Yeah, it was a scene in a movie. They didn't actually eat the goldfish. PETA was there to make sure that fish was pampered. Okay? Now, where were they for this German Shepherd?
Yeah, that's true. You'd figure you'd have somebody behind the scenes keeping an eye on things,
So, here's my problem. There's something a lot worse going on with other dogs, and we're focusing on one because it's in Hollywood, and it's a video that we saw cut together. Cut together, not a full thing. Now, if the video would have continued on, and you would have saw that trainer throw the dog into the water, and he was drowning, then you could, call PETA, complain, start an investigation, not go see the movie, and all that kind of stuff. But
right.
We are missing a huge chunk of information.
That is true.
And it could be just about a 5-second gap that we're missing. But that's a vital 5-second gap that we don't have.
Right. Or it could be, like weeks.
Could be weeks. It could be the next day. Like I said, you don't know when that second set of footage, where it came from and what day it was on.
Right.
So that's kind of my problem with this whole thing, because I'm going to go and see the movie.
Right.
Because I want to go and see it. As of right now, I have no evidence to believe that they meant any harm to that dog. He is perfectly fine. And that's kind of it.
Right. I might go see it. We'll see. I'm like I said, this is another one of those things I'm just gonna ride out and see where it goes, and if it seems to be going well, I'll probably check it out for myself. I guess I'll see what the people have to say about it first.
Like I said, I'm not waiting for someone to determine whether they were cruel or not, because it's going to be something to draw up controversy.
That's true.
So,
Speaking of dogs, I don't know if you heard about that one dog. It's like in a lot of memes, whatever, the Bork dog.
no.
Oh yeah, it just passed away like the other day, I think it was. Like it was one of those dogs you put in the memes. You ever seen those videos where like it's that little white yapping dog, and like they're making it and like they're tuning it to like computer editing to make it sound like it's like barking to a song?
Right.
You know that one?
Yeah.
It's like a little white Pomeranian.
Right.
Yeah, I forgot what his name was, but he's like called the Bork dog.
Right.
And I guess he just passed away not too long ago.
Well, that's sad.
Yeah, no more Bork dog. But you know what, though? People pretty much edit off the same video anyway, so it's not like it's going to affect that. But still, it's always sad to hear about a dog dying.
It is.
I mean, Jenna, she just had to put down her beagle, and he was mixed with something else a couple weeks ago.
My stepsister just told me earlier that she's going to have to put down her dog. She's had this dog since she's moved out of the house. And she's got 2 kids, and it's going to be hard on everybody. That dog is like part of the family.
Right.
But we've been having a conversation via like group chat, and she was around. She was very happy, very hyper for this past Christmas. So we all got to see her when she was happy, hyper, and in a good place. she's been slowly declining the past few days, and I guess now she's running into walls, and it's kind of, they're like, okay, we need to go and put her down.
That's kind of how it was with Rocco, Jenna's dog.
Yeah.
He was just getting worse each day, and eventually, yeah, he was just walking into walls and stuff. He wasn't eating. So after a while, it was time.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So why don't we move on from this sad topic? So I've got something really cool to tell you about.
What's that?
So you remember the Mighty Morphing Power Rangers, the original series, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, somebody took the trailer because the new movie seems kind of dark, a little bit darker, not as,
right,
upbeat as the
not
original
as kid
series.
friendly.
So a YouTuber took it upon himself to take footage from the new movie
Mm-hmm.
and pretty much make an exact copy of the original series.
Really?
Of just like the intro.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, you're gonna have to show me this after after the show.
So it starts off with this.
The hardcore Power Rangers music.
It is.
I'll admit they had some pretty hardcore metal intros.
Yeah.
I mean, listen to that riff right there.
Right here.
And they replace all the old Power Ranger images with new ones from the new movie?
Yes.
Really?
So it's literally the exact same thing. It's just all the new footage.
That's so cool. I mean, do you think they're gonna incorporate the theme song into the movie in any way, shape, or form?
I'm not sure. I heard something about Kanye West doing a song, which I think would be a big mistake.
Yeah. I can't say I agree with it. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't think I've been in one of them agreeing moods today, though. If you haven't noticed, we've already bickered, since I got here, we've bickered 2 or 3 times about different little things.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, but I was really excited. Right here.
10,000 years I'm free. Time to conquer Earth.
They took this audio.
Recruit a team of teenagers with attitudes.
Teenagers with attitude.
But I mean, it even does the credits and who plays who, what ranger. I'll play it for you later. It's also in the link in the description below. Actually, it's not. I'm gonna post it to our Topic Talks Facebook page, just so you guys have that, because it is really cool.
Yeah, that is kind of cool. I'm looking forward to seeing this.
And it's actually kind of cool because, like I said, almost the exact same trailer.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that I thought was pretty cool.
That is cool. There's another little thing I was looking into recently. You watch Netflix, right?
Like a religion.
Well, listen, I just found this really cool list. It's a whole bunch of stuff that's coming to Netflix, and unfortunately some stuff that's gonna be leaving.
See, but that's what usually makes me mad is the stuff that's leaving. Like when Doctor Who left, I flipped.
One of the cool things that's on there now is a new it's new show of an old thing. You remember that show or the books and the movie series Unfortunate Events?
Yep, Lemony Snicket's series of Unfortunate
Personally,
Events.
I loved the movie. A lot of people had complaints about it, but I didn't read the books, so I didn't really have anything to complain about. I thought Jim Carrey was fabulous as Count Olaf, though.
Me too.
But they revamped it.
And Neil Patrick Harris.
Yep, Neil Patrick Harris is Count Olaf, and they have the new show playing on Netflix now.
I know.
Which I've watched the first 2 episodes. The episodes are really out of whack time-wise. They haven't decided on an episode time length. The first episode's 40-something minutes. The second one's over an hour. And they just keep ranging differently. And the first 2 episodes pretty much cover all the events of the first movie. Or only movie.
Okay, so what kind of list are we looking at?
We got a bunch of stuff. A lot of old stuff that's coming on. What is it? First of all, that god-awful B movie's coming to Netflix.
I liked the B movie,
I thought it was horrible.
It was really good.
But either way, I mean, I don't
But
know.
you probably don't like Seinfeld either.
I've never really watched Seinfeld.
You've never seen Seinfeld?
But I watched that one guy who does that car rides and coffee with like celebrities.
That's Jerry Seinfeld.
Yeah, the Seinfeld guy. Yeah. As a matter of fact, we watched that in school.
We did.
That was fun. I enjoyed that. He's a funny guy.
It was celebrities in cars having coffee.
Yes. And don't get me wrong, he's a funny guy, but like Seinfeld just wasn't me. I'm more of a Big Bang Theory guy.
I like Big Bang Theory.
Which I'm about to be starting to watch Big Bang Theory again as well.
I keep losing like I'll watch it and then I'll kind of drop off, and I'll watch it and I'll drop off, and I'll watch it and I'll drop. So I want to wait until it's done in like 10 years from now, and then go through and rewatch the entire thing.
Do you honestly think Big Bang Theory is going to last 10 years?
No, probably another year or two and it'll be done.
Probably another year or two, because they're talking about a Sheldon spinoff.
I've heard about that.
Which I don't know how I feel about it. Anyways, I guess
I would only feel bad about it if Jim Parsons did not play Sheldon.
Yeah, I think they got somebody else. I don't know. But so they got some oldies coming to Netflix. We got stuff like Braveheart, Caddyshack.
Oh, I love Caddyshack.
Caddyshack was pretty good.
Caddyshack. Bill Murray is a genius.
Yep.
So is Chevy Chase.
We got E.T. coming to Netflix.
E.T. is really good.
El Dorado. You remember that cartoon?
The Road
movie?
to El Dorado.
That movie was pretty funny.
That's
Road
awesome
to El Dorado. Yep. Smaller stuff that some people either love or hate, like Halo Legends. As a huge Halo fan, I'm pretty cool about that, but I already have it anyways. Here's one on the list that just puts a sour taste in my mouth. They're putting Justin Bieber's movie on there. You know, that Never
Nobody
Say
cares.
Never. Yeah, nobody cares about that. Let's see, what else? We got a bunch of Superman movies. We got Superman Returns, Superman 2, Superman 3, Superman The Quest for Peace, Superman the movie.
They could just stop making Superman movies and I would be perfectly content.
Yeah, we got The Parent Trap on
That's
there.
really good.
The
Wait, is it the original or the new?
The 1961. So original.
I don't like the original.
You know?
No.
I want them to put The Odd Couple on there. I don't know if anybody's ever seen The Odd Couple or
The
The
new
Odd
one
Couple
or the
2.
old one?
The original one.
Oh, okay.
The original one was amazing. The Rat Race, which is hilarious. That was a movie in 2012. It's got a bunch of actors in it, like a lot of well, decently known ones. We have V for Vendetta coming out there.
That's a great movie.
Did I say The Shining?
You did not.
The Shining's coming out. Let's see. What else? They're going to be releasing another season of Always Sunny in Philadelphia. They're putting that new show. It's a Netflix original. They're going to be doing Tarzan and Jane. Which that's going to be interesting. I'm pretty sure that's a live action one. Alpha and Omega, the movie wasn't very good in my opinion, but I guess it's okay. They're putting the Ratchet and Clank movie on there. Did you see that?
The what?
The Ratchet and Clank movie?
No.
They made a Ratchet and Clank movie. I'm pretty sure it's basically just the first game as a movie.
I don't know what that is. So.
You don't know what Ratchet and Clank is?
No.
What did you grow up on? Like under a rock?
No, BayWatch.
How do I know you?
Yes, you do.
Okay.
I'm a person.
Let's see. We got Alice Through the Looking Glass is coming out on Netflix.
It's already on Netflix. I was watching it.
Yep.
That is a phenomenal movie.
I'm pretty like psyched that they brought The Jungle Book and Captain America: Civil War to Netflix.
I watched Jungle Book too.
How was it?
Great movie.
I have to watch it still.
Great movie.
It
gets rave reviews from me.
It gets rave reviews?
Now here's why, okay?
Okay.
So a little bit of spoilers. Just letting you all know so you can turn us off now. Okay, so one of my major things that I said there are two songs, and I don't care how they did it, that I wanted in that movie.
One is obviously Bare Necessities.
I want to be, Bare Necessities, and then I Want to Be Like You.
There we go.
They're both in there.
They're both in there. Yeah, that's right.
But it's not like a cheesy, music starts behind them and they start dancing.
No, like I feel like for Bare Necessities, isn't Blue just like whistling it?
Blue was just, he started off like whistling it, humming it, and Mowgli's like, what is that? And he's like, oh, it's a song. You've never heard a song before? And then they keep working a little bit, and then they're laying in the river, and they're both singing the song. But no music, no nothing, just kind of like a cappella style, but it's not anything perfect. Like, it's not great, but it's not terrible. You know what I mean? It's just kind
It's
of
nice. It's
the bare
homage. It's
necessities.
homage.
You're right. And then the monkey, they
You
revamped
mean
the
King
song.
Louis?
Yes, they revamped the song a little bit. By the
Mhm.
way, King Louis is massive.
Really?
He's huge.
Like how huge?
Like
bigger than me?
there's like 100 times bigger than you.
Like bigger than a car?
100 times bigger than a car.
Bigger than a bus?
He's about as tall as a bus, but
So-
wider.
So he's like a fat King Kong, almost.
Kind
Or
of.
like a King Kong as an
He's,
orangutan.
yes. That would be an accurate description.
Really?
Yes.
That's cool.
Yes.
You know what? I think I remember hearing too. Doesn't
And-
like Scarlett Johansson play the snake?
She plays the snake. She
Which
does a
doesn't make sense because
phenomenal job.
wasn't the snake a
Phenomenal job.
male though in the original?
It could have been pulled off either way.
Okay,
But
fair
she
enough.
did a phenomenal job. It was really good. Yeah, I really liked it, and it was partly the song, but it was done really well. The animals were all animated, but it was a good animation. It wasn't a bad animation. There's some things that make you go in there, which I like, and then you go, oh.
Was Shere Khan in it?
He was.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, that's good. Good. How about Bagheera?
Yep.
Good. All the main characters.
Nope. They had all the main characters.
How about the buzzards?
Yes.
They were.
Well, okay. They weren't in like they were in the actual Jungle Book, but there were buzzards in the movie.
Okay.
I feel like it took a little bit of a different
Turn.
path.
Path?
I feel like it's a different take on the same movie.
Right. More realistic, probably.
Right. No, but overall it was really good. I really liked it. I would buy it and watch it again. So I give it a 10.
That's great. I'm gonna have to watch it then.
Yeah,
And
I
then-
would strongly recommend it.
And then I'll tell you everything I hate about it. No, I'm just kidding. I'm sure I'll
You
like
would
it.
too. You'd be like, I hate everything about this movie. Why did you make me watch this movie?
No, I already have a good idea of it because, first of all, they got Bill Murray in there. And any movie with Bill Murray, besides cameos, like Ghostbusters,
Hey, I was just happy it had a cameo.
either way. There's a lot of other ones coming to Netflix as well, though. Like I said, Series of Unfortunate Events is on there, which is really good. I recommend to anybody who,
See,
liked it.
I wasn't that big into the like actual movie.
I thought it was good. Here's an interesting one. Casablanca's The Man Who Loved Women. Now, I'm not sure if this is something they're trying to bring back, like, as a revamp, or if that's the original. It doesn't have a year on it. But it's on there. Let's see, we also got... What else we got? Oh, I just watched this last night, Halloween. I fell asleep.
Man.
Yeah, but let's see. There's a long list on here. Bates Motel I'm happy to say that's returning for another season. However, it's
What is?
Bates Motel. They just put
Okay.
season 4 on Netflix, and they're gonna be doing another season later this year. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be the last season. I'm pretty excited about that. Me and Jenna, we just caught up to Supernatural today. Like, we watched all the new Supernatural on Netflix. So now we got to find out how we're gonna watch the new season. But she says it's on HBO, so at least there's that.
Right.
Let's see. Sharknado: The Fourth Awakens from last year is on Netflix now.
Okay.
Did you see any of those?
I did not see any of the Sharknado movies.
You're not missing out at all. Now here's a list of some of the movies that are unfortunately leaving Netflix, or not just movies, some shows.
And here's where I'm gonna get irritated.
Yep.
Continue.
Okay. Well, actually, I'm not too upset about this one, but Alvin and Chipmunks Meet Frankenstein and also Meet the Wolfman are getting taken off.
I'm mad about that. Those are on my queue. Those were some of my favorite movies.
Anyways, moving on. But yeah, I guess they're alright. I grew up on some Alvin and Chipmunks.
I grew up on the original Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Now, some of these are good that they're taking off. Like, for example, Angry Birds Toons.
Yeah, I'd never watched them.
Getting taken off. Good. Bewitched is getting taken off.
Like the original or the movie with Will Ferrell that sucked?
I'm not sure. It just says Bewitched. We got Bring It On and Bring It On All or Nothing getting taken off. We got...
Those were decent movies.
I didn't watch them.
They were decent movies.
Let's see. Dazed and Confused is getting taken off. Final Destination 3 is getting taken off. Ghost Town's getting taken off. Hairspray is getting taken off.
Well, it was the original Hairspray anyway, so I'm good with that.
Yep. Jake and Neverland Pirates. I'm assuming that's some Peter Pan thing, but
yeah, it was a Peter Pan movie.
It was a movie?
Yeah.
Because it says he's a 1 through 3.
Oh, then it might have been a show.
Law and Order Special Victims Unit.
Take it off, because it's not what it used to be.
Yep.
Away with you.
Little Man. It's getting taken off. Nanny McPhee's getting taken off.
I'm not that. None of these are really. I really don't care for.
Oh, they're taking South Park, the South Park movie off.
I didn't know South Park was on there.
Yeah, it's on there and they're taking it off. The Italian Job, which was a good movie with Mark Wahlberg, they're taking it off.
But I own that one, so I can't be too upset about that.
They're taking off Saving Private Ryan. Which,
again, take it or leave it.
Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift is on Netflix. I didn't even know, but they're taking it off.
I have the entire series.
Same. The Fast and the Furious, which I'm pretty sure that's the first one.
See, my question is, why did they just put the whole series on there if they were going to put any of the movies on there?
Right?
Why did you put, 3 and 4?
Right. Doesn't make any sense. Amityville Horror, they're taking off. I actually didn't even realize that was on there. Zoom Academy for Superheroes. It was a shot down Tim Allen movie.
No, that one was really good. I like that one. I'm sad about
Zoom?
that. Zoom was good.
I
wanted to see Zoom when I was a kid, and I never got the chance. And then I was at April's last year, and I was sitting bored because she was in class.
And she had it, and you watched it.
And it was a movie she didn't want to watch. I'm like, okay, well, I'll watch it while she's at class because it was on Netflix. It's been on Netflix for a while. And I watched it, and I'm like, this was really good.
I give it an okay. I'll
give it a 5.
A 5?
Yes. Out of 10. Nah, 7 out of 10. I'll give it a 7.
I think
5 is too low.
I think Sky High was a better superhero movie.
Sky High was really good.
But even then, that one didn't get very good ratings either. You find that superpower movies don't usually, like low-key ones, they usually don't get a lot of amazing ratings. Like Jumper, I thought Jumper was an amazing movie. It had Hayden Christensen in it. Horrible reviews. I think it was partially because of him. I think it's good, but it just got horrible reviews. The Girl Who Played with Fire is getting taken off. The Girl Who Kicked the Hornet's Nest got taken off. I'm not sure if those are the same series, because the Girl Who Kicked the Hornet's Nest, I don't know.
It just sounds like a bad idea.
Yeah. And Stephen King's A Good Marriage. I have a feeling because of Stephen King that it was not a good marriage, but that's getting taken off. But yeah, so that's kind of it for that list, though. So a lot of good stuff, a lot of stuff that should be going is going. It's a shame to see some of this stuff going on there. But I can only hope that they're going to put some more good stuff up, in the coming months. Like I said, I'm expecting more good things out of this series of unfortunate events. We watched the first 2 episodes, and they pretty much covered everything that happened in the first movie. So I'm assuming that the rest of the episodes in season 1 are gonna be stuff I haven't seen before. Oh, you know what? It's narrated too by this one guy. That guy who's literally in everything. He was in Krunk's New Groove. He was Krunk.
Yes.
And he was also
in
Men in Black 2 for a short period of time. He was in oh my god, I'm drawing a blank now, but stuff he's in. What's his name? Let me Google this real quick.
And now I'm confused.
Let me find his name.
The guy I was thinking of was the same guy that played in Rules of Engagement.
I think that's the same guy.
But I didn't
Patrick Warburton.
Let me see a picture.
This guy here. See it?
No, I just see Mark Wilson and.
Oh shoot! I powered off my screen. Oh man, I turned my Chromebook off. Patrick Warburton. I'm trying to think.
I'll look it up.
Some other stuff. Yeah, just look it up real quick because I just shut down my laptop.
Nice.
Good job, me. Let me think. Oh, Patrick Warburton. He's a great actor. I've seen him in so many different things, and I it's all drawing a blank right now.
I didn't know he was in Men in Black though.
All right, Patrick Warburton. Yeah, Patrick Warburton. Let me look him up. I'm sure you're looking him
Yeah,
up
he was
right
in
now too.
Rules of Engagement. I didn't know he was in Men in Black though. He was in Ted,
Yeah, he was in.
Rules of Engagement, Family Guy, The Emperor's
Yeah, he's
New
Joe
Groove.
from Family Guy. Why didn't I think of that? Yeah, he was Kronk in Emperor's New Groove. What else was he in? Shoot, I can't even believe I didn't think
He
about
was in
Family
Family
Guy.
Guy, The Elephant King,
He was in Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered.
Ted 2.
That's surprising. I did not know that. He's an American soldier. Voice
Skylanders
uncredited.
Trap Team.
He was Flynn. I played Skylanders with my brother for a little while, and his character that he plays is god awful. It really is. But he's a good actor.
Skylanders Giants. He played in the original
He
Ted.
plays in all the Skylanders stuff because he's Flynn. He's one of the main characters. Oh yeah, he's in Ted. He's in Ted 2. He's in
Flicka 2.
He's in Flicka. What's Flicka?
That was a horse movie.
Okay.
Fairly Odd Parents.
You know what? That's something I haven't seen in a while. Fairly
The
Odd
Emperor's New
Parents
School. That was a good series. You remember The Emperor's New School?
It was okay. You know, I remember Fairly Odd Parents. I remember they even did a little BayWatch thing. You remember?
Yep.
I thought that was really funny. Where they were like running through the water, all slow motion.
He was also in Get Smart, the B movie.
He was in movie 43. I don't know if anybody here
He was
saw.
in the B movie.
He was?
Yes. He played the wannabe boyfriend of that girl that Jerry Seinfeld characters.
He played in what's his name in Mr. Sherman, the dog, and they go back traveling through time.
Peabody and Mr. Sherman.
Yeah, Peabody and Mr. Sherman. Yeah. He plays in Archer. He plays in Archer. He played in The Little Engine That Could from 2011. I didn't even know they made a movie for that. He's in the Cleveland Show, obviously, because he's Joe Swanson. He's in a lot of stuff.
He's in a lot of stuff.
Anyway,
you were making a point?
He's a very accredited actor. Does a lot of work. He probably makes a lot of money.
I think so.
But anyways, yeah, back to the Fairly Odd Parents. So I grew up with that show. Fairly Odd Parents, SpongeBob, Jimmy Neutron. I watched a ton of those. Danny Phantom was my favorite, though. You remember Danny Phantom?
I remember Danny Phantom. It wasn't my favorite, but it was really good.
Well, it should have been your favorite because Danny Phantom was
not
amazing.
my favorite.
Well,
what were some of the other ones you named off?
Jimmy Neutron.
That was really good.
I watched a ton of Jimmy Neutron.
Right.
I also watched a ton of Fairly Odd Parents.
Yes.
I watched a ton. I still watch SpongeBob here and there. SpongeBob's amazing. When I actually have my voice, I can actually do a pretty good SpongeBob impression. And I do an even better Doodle Bob. But I'm not going to do it right now because I just can't. My voice is too
Because your head's cold and you refuse to put on a hat.
I'm wearing a hat and it's a head cold. It doesn't mean my head is cold. It means I'm sick and it's all in my head, but not in my brain, but actually like sinuses.
Yeah, I think it means your head is cold.
My face is warm.
It's deceiving. I know.
Yeah, very deceiving.
Or are your hands cold? So your face feels warm.
No, my hands feel warm too.
But if they're both cold,
I don't know.
they would both be
Anyways, what was I was gonna tell you about my weekend. I was gonna tell you about the gig I worked. I worked as an announcer this weekend. It was my second paid gig.
Nice.
Yes, I was an announcer for raffles and announcements and all that stuff. I was on mic in front of people for the first time actually.
You should have told me about that. I would have went and done that.
You probably wouldn't have anyways because first of all it's 10. Well, actually it is Mass Nice. That's not too bad. But no, it was at my sister's hydroponic shop.
Oh.
You know the one you always joke about, the weed store.
Was that the weed store?
It was the weed store. My sister hired me on for it. But it was great though. I had a lot of fun. I met a lot of cool new people. And had some amazing pancakes. I had some pancakes there. They were really making pancakes by order. I had these chocolate chip pancakes.
They needed munchies, didn't they?
No. Oh, shoot. For some of the people maybe. But either way, no. But the pancakes were really good. You could fill out a ticket and order whatever you want. They had literally everything: strawberries, blueberries,
it's
bananas,
because it's a weed store.
Chips.
They know how to feed their people.
They were good pancakes. They were really good pancakes, and they had bacon and sausage too. It was good. And they
were hot.
And they had this tiki hut where they were giving away
where they were clam baking.
No, where they were serving free beer to anyone 21 and up. And
a blunt.
No blunts. No blunts. None of that. None of that. It's a professional establishment, Aaron. You can't just walk in there just with a cloud following you. Don't you give me that look.
You could walk in there with a cloud following you and they'd be like, hey, welcome to the weed
They
store.
would probably tell you gotta take that outside. But they probably wouldn't call the cops on you because you're like one of their customers probably.
Right. Because you're buying your bowls and
They
all
don't
that
sell
other stuff.
bowls and stuff like that. It's all growing equipment.
Oh, okay.
You
So
can grow any plants from the stuff you can get there. It's not just that.
Some of it is specialized equipment.
Some of it is specialized equipment for growing any kind of plant, like fine.
Time is up.
Not just a weed store.
Time is up. We have about 5 minutes left. This is when I take the time and tell you, well, first off, thank you
It's not a weed store.
for listening. It is a weed store. Now stop.
It's hydroponics.
This is the time when I take the time and thank you guys for all listening, both future listeners and current listeners. And I also talk to you. You know, if we ever talk about anything you don't like, we talk about something you really like, you want to chime in on something we talk about, just hit us up on Facebook. I am working on right now finding a way to have people call in. I've got it all set up. All I've got to do is figure out a phone number to use, and I'll release that number once I get it all set up. Okay? And no, Mark, I'm going to turn you on. Are you going to be good? Okay. Mark says he's going to be good.
I'm good. I made my point.
Okay.
Anyways,
So, anything else you need to say besides?
well, no. I mean, I was gonna tell you about one other thing, which was actually earlier today. I started up on a video opportunity as well.
Nice.
I'm gonna be working on YouTube videos for Empower Radio. I'm gonna be like their main guy for that.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice.
So that's
Good job.
that's gonna be fun. But apart from that, no, I've pretty much said all my piece.
Okay. I'm glad.
Yeah.
Once again, we're on every Monday night at 6. We do get off for some holidays, but you know, I try to get announcements out and let you know. Let me know what you think about the announcements. If you think I put too much effort into them, if you want me to just post on Facebook and be boring like that, I can do that. But I thought it was cool to have like a fun audio announcement. So if you don't like those, if you like those, let me know. This show is for you guys. It's kind of, I like to consider it a way to get good, happy news and the things you want to hear, and keep out the crap that you know.
Keep out the crap.
All the drama and that kind of stuff that you hear from all the other news sources. Or if you feel like there's a topic that we haven't covered at all and you would like us to cover it, you could contact me on my personal Facebook on our Topic Talks Facebook page. You can probably shoot a message over to Mark if you really felt inclined.
You can say hi. I won't bite
Much.
unless you want me to. No, I'm just kidding.
Anyway, no, but we're very nice guys. We don't just put on a show. I'm actually a very friendly guy, so you know, don't be afraid to shoot me a messessage.
He's lying. No, I'm just kidding. Aaron's a great
I mean,
guy.
you could even post on my Facebook page. I really don't care.
Yeah.
As long as it's not no profanity or anything.
What if it's about a weed store?
Don't post about your weed store.
I'm kidding.
Anyway, I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I think that's good. You know, that's got good. You know. Yeah, I think that's a wrap.
Well, for everyone here at Topic Talks, I'm Eric Smith,
And I'm Mark Wilson.
signing off.